Welcome back to Attitude, Effort, Results presented by Teamwork Online and the Clubhouse. Today we have an awesome guest here with us. Very excited to have Adam in the building. I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we're going to get right into it today, providing valuable content in an efficient way here today. Adam, welcome to the show.
What's up, Tanner? Greetings from London. It's about 3 p.m. here, so appreciate you starting your Friday morning with me.
Yeah, we are, for the first time ever here on Attitude Effort Results, we have somebody from out of the country. So we're trying to get some top guests here on and really provide value for our listeners, those college age and young professionals, specifically in the sports industry for some, because that's my background and that's where the expertise lies, but also the business tool. I'm curious, start us off, like, why London?
Why London? That is a really good question. And look, I've used this analogy a lot. I think that sports executives are like baseball players. They're like athletes. Baseball, there's that analogy. You want to be a 5-tool athlete. I think sports business is the exact same thing. And it goes team, league, agency, brand/media, and international. Now there's more, but I think of it as like the core 5. And for myself, I have international roots. I'm not from the U.S. originally. I was born in Israel and moved to the States when I was very young. I moved around a lot growing up through my dad's job in the tech industry. So I always said, well, I wanted to experience a little bit of that. And so obviously I'm a failed athlete. I went to UMass Amherst, studied sports management at the best program in the world. I know there's some people that are going to hear this and cringe and want to debate, but I'll firmly go on the record as saying that. And I think early on, it was, okay, how can I take a little piece of everything I've learned from the top people at every single organization? So I was at the Sixers, ticket sales, corporate partnerships. We crushed a number of records there, trusted the process for a number of years, followed some friends over to the New York Jets, did that. And then I moved back to Philly to work with some people I knew and did partnerships there. And from then it was, okay, what's most important? WMI. And I think for me, it was continuing to think outside the box, challenge myself, and joined an agency. Did that. We moved to Chicago. And a few years later, really started to explore what interested my wife and I. And she has international roots as well. And we got to look into it. And there was a few opportunities that came up. And then finally, when Playfly expanded internationally, it was a no-brainer. And I threw my hat in the ring, even when there was no ring. And I think persistence paid off, and doing a lot of European work in my free time outside of my U.S. role, I really just honed in on that for a few months until it made perfect sense. And yeah, fast forward 9 months from all of that process, and we've been here now just under 4 months. So it's exciting times, to say the least.
Wow, that is awesome. We talk about career paths and where they can take you. I don't think a lot of people that are currently in that think outside of the United States. And that's why it's incredible to have you on today and just expand the knowledge and the mindset of people looking to get into, one, the sports industry, but also into a career path where there's a lot of opportunity outside of the United States also. You talked a little bit about that 5-tool business person. Tell me a little bit more about that and why you believe that's important.
Yeah, I think it goes back probably almost 12 years now. I started my career at the Philadelphia 76ers under some really amazing people there. Matt McShay, Jake Reynolds, Scott O'Neal. All of them were people that have built careers for themselves in sports. And early on, they didn't try and bucket you into, okay, you're in ticket sales. This is what you're going to do. You're going to make 100 cold calls. You're going to send 100 emails. You're going to hit your hours of talk time and your meetings and your upsells, because you know what that's like. And they really pushed us to tap into our passions. Scott always said, you want to be where your feet are, right? That's the title of his book. And I think that you want to be in a place where you want to be able to run to work, and you also want to be able to run home to whatever you have at home at the end of the day. So, luckily for me, I had a lot of people around me that empowered me to be passionate about things outside of what I'm doing every day. And learning from a lot of those people, we always know in ticket sales, it's okay, inside sales, group sales, account executive. Do you want to be a manager? Do you want to be in partnerships? And learning and growing from those people helped me explore what the best route and the best path was for me. And luckily, some other good organization that I worked for since that, people empowered us to do the exact same thing. So many years later, I'm sitting here in London, but a lot of things always come up, or I see things on LinkedIn that bring me back to those early ticket sales days. And landing at the right organization, I think, is the most important thing. A lot of boxes you have to check when you're looking for that first job in sports, but also the next one. And nobody stays somewhere forever, but there's a lot of things that you have to look at that will determine how can you continue to build a career there and what's best for you.
You talked about building a career, like the actual foundation. You talk about the 5-tool business person, right? Is that baseball analogy, and you have to build those skills. What skills have you specifically built up? The intangible skills, again, the skills that you get in partnerships or that you get in ticket sales come directly from your managers. But what intangible skills have you built throughout your career that have given you the opportunity to be where you are now?
Yeah, look, I think you have to have that hustle, that grind mentality. Everybody knows I'm kind of obsessed with the Kobe Bryant Mamba mentality, the passion, loving the game, fueling the dream, embracing the grind. And I think you have to be intellectually curious, right? Do you want to do more than just how you're graded on a daily basis, on a quarterly, on a yearly basis? So that's number one. I think it is being passionate beyond just your core job. Where do your interests lie? How can you continue to get 1% better every single day? Being good isn't good enough. How can you be great? And I think that that's one of the biggest things. And you can see it early on, right? Some people just have the it factor and wanting to learn and grow. So being curious is one. I think that's being a sponge. I mean, nobody is the best at everything. A lot of the top ideas are borrowed or stolen. And early on in the Sixers, it was, okay, who is the best person at selling on LinkedIn? Who is the best face-to-face meeting person? Who is the best at upsells? So really just being a sponge, learning from the best people. And I think that collaborative team mentality really wins. And that leads to my next one. I think it's rooting for everybody in the team's personal gain as if it is your own is a no-brainer. We work and at really challenging organizations and tough goals. And, from your stops to the Dolphins to the Suns, there's a lot of games and events. There's very lofty goals that you want to hit at the end of the year. And you're only as strong as your weakest link. So being a team player, absolutely huge. Another thing that Scott always said, if you're, how did the quote go? It said, if you are an asshole and really good at your job, we won't have room for you. But if you are just okay or in the middle of the pack and you're a really good person, we will always find a spot for you. So I think just being the right personality, being a good person, being empathetic, that's one of our 5 values here at Playfly as well. But those are probably 2 of the big things. I think being a team player, just like in sports, right? And wanting to continue to get better and grow every single day.
Tell me a little bit about Playfly for those who don't know exactly what that is, but tell me a little bit about Playfly and the role that you're currently in.
Yeah, so Playfly is, Playfly Sports, really big agency that we have 1,300 employees across 43 different states and several different countries. How it started was really inorganic growth. And if you look at us, we're just over 4 years old now. We've had a lot of really good acquisition of different pieces of the business in sports, starting with Home Team Sports, which was previously Fox Sports before that, a legacy media conglomerate that does billions of dollars a year in TV revenue for a lot of teams across the NBA, the NHL, MLB for their RSNs. So you take that, they've grown. And for myself, where I started at the agency was with the Premier Partnerships Group, which was a legacy sponsorship sales team that started decades ago under the tutelage of Randy Bernstein and Alan Rothenberg, who are legends of the game, who have done really amazing things. So we came onto the fold in early 2022. And, we're doing all the jersey patch partnerships, the naming rights, really getting hands-on with expansion teams as we had done prior to myself arriving with MLS and a lot of teams that really needed to consolidate some inventory. So we folded up as the naming rights and global partnerships arm. Fast forward a few more years, more acquisitions, right? We're in the college MMR space with a lot of really amazing programs and institutions. You have your LSUs, you have your San Jose States, you have Penn State, who we're working with, Virginia Tech, University of Virginia, and you name it. So that's one. We're also in esports with Playfly Esports. So our goal is to, and from a few years ago, be top 5 in 5. Now we know we're under 5 years old, but our goal is to be a top 5 sports agency by fiscal year 2029. So coming up here in a few years, it's an exciting goal, and I think that was really big for us, was to go international, and that is how Playfly Europe, with our office here in London, evolved also via an acquisition just about a year ago now. So you'll continue to see us grow, evolve. We're in the brand consulting space. We do experiential for a lot of brands that have activations at games, events, tournaments. I mentioned brand consulting. We're doing a lot of hospitality. We're helping a lot of the World Cup host cities. So pretty much anything we can be in. There's a few that we're not, but leave it up to the good folks at Playfly to always have an eye on what's growing in the industry.
Man, the growth is unreal in that short of time. And you talk about like leave it to the guys at Playfly to find what's next. The cool part about this industry and the cool part about being in a place where mentally you're open to growing is awesome, because there are so many different avenues and opportunities that are out there that when you have an open mind and you can come into it of like, hey, maybe I do go overseas for a little bit, right? Like I'll move my family over there and be open to that. The experiences and the life knowledge that you have is so vast. We actually had a guy who worked for us who had been in this state his entire life and is taking a huge step back in his career, which we don't see often, but a step back because he wants to go experience a different portion of the business in a different area, a different city, a different culture. And maybe some people are just like, hey, let me climb as fast as I can in this area and location. But I personally believe my wife and I have moved a couple times. Those different experiences and different locations not only is good for your career because you're under different management and leadership and ideas, but also personally, you get to experience more of life. You get to interact with different types of people. I'm curious from your side, the move overseas currently, like what's the difference in culture, in demographic, in people than what you've seen here in the States?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Me and my wife both come from similar cultures, right? We both have foreign parents that have moved to the United States. I'm first generation immigrant myself. I moved to the States very early on, and similar set of values. I think that's a match from person to person, but also person to workplace and organization, people you work for. It's a big life thing that I believe in. But in terms of cultural identity, I call London the capital of the world. A lot of things start and end here. It's no secret that London is this banking global capital because of where it sits in time zones, just between the Far East and the modern West in the United States. But there's all kinds of creeds and cultures and people here. The best Asian food, the best Indian food, which I hadn't really experienced when I was in the United States. I do miss Mexican food. There's not too much of that here in London. There's a Chipotle down the street. I had it once. I'll not be back. But in terms of the business culture, it's much slower in the United States. I think we both come from the team side in the United States. It's, okay, how can I do the next thing? And how can I hit my goal? And set a ton of meetings, hit on those calls, those emails. It's a more slow culture. People are meeting in person a bunch, coffees, lunches. There's a lot of relationship building that I think comes with that, a lot of nurturing relationships, which of course happens in the United States, but more so here, tapping into agency relationships and getting to know people, person to person, beyond just what do you do? What do I do? Here's the value proposition. Here's what I'm trying to sell to you as a solution for your brand to partner with one of my clients. There is, I think, more relationship building, getting to know one another. And there's definitely, you can feel that, I don't want to say work-life balance, but I think it's more called work-life equity, where people really just shut down on the weekends. If they're on what they call it holiday, not vacation here, I'm going on holiday next week for 6 days myself. But when people go on holiday, good luck getting a hold of them. In some country, people go on holiday in Scandinavia for a month. It's great. I get jealous. But there's another thing here. People go until the buzzer on a Friday evening all the way into the Friday night. So there's a lot of different nuances that we're coming to learn and grow and love in our short time. It was interesting doing this role remote July 1 when our fiscal turned over, leading up until my move here end of October. So always learning new slang words, British lingo, what we've been saying in the United States, I say here, people don't understand, and vice versa. So it's starting to pick up in the group chats as well.
What are I'm just curious, what are some of those sayings where you say and people are like, what are you talking about?
So the first one, my first week here, people said, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm acclimating." What's that word? It's acclimatized here, which is not a word in the United States. What else? Crickets. Like when you're trying to reach out to someone, I've gotten crickets. I get crickets in the room when I say that. But then there's a few words here that I've picked up. You say you're chuffed if you're feeling excited about something. So you come off a really good first meeting. There's potential there with that prospect. Yeah, I'm pretty chuffed about how that meeting went. Or if someone is wasting time continuing to just do anything but their job, they're faffing around. If someone is wasting time by talking a lot of nothing, they're waffling. So there's a lot of good words that I've learned here that I'll definitely take back to the States. I'm trying to slowly drop them into the chats and get people to catch on.
Yeah, are you bringing that lingo back to the States? So you're like, hey, Adam is bringing these words back, and they're gonna stick here when you come back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been ending my emails with cheers for years now, so you could say I've been manifesting the move ever since.
I love it. You mentioned your wife briefly, and I don't think it gets talked about a lot. Whether it's a significant other or really good friends, in order to move physically move locations and grow your career, you do have to leave some people behind. But also, as you have a significant other, it's not just your decision anymore. Walk through that process of one, the conversation with your wife of like, hey, I think we should leave the United States, what that conversation looked like, and then potentially some of the moving aspects, logistics of getting over there.
Yeah, it's it's a two-person decision. As you start to add kids, there's more people and personalities that are involved. We have two dogs that we treat like humans, no kids yet, so we always think about the kids in mind. So I think for us, those conversations happen early on, even before we got married. But again, that goes back to values and experiences. We love to travel. We love to eat. Our families come from two different backgrounds. And I think for us, like she is born and raised Philadelphia, grew up, lived in the same house her whole life. Her parents still live there. I've lived in 6 states, now 3 countries. I've lost count of the number of houses I've been in. So it's polar opposite experiences. And both of those experiences have really amazing things to them. I never get jealous or say one person's experience isn't up to another person's experience. But for us, it was continuing to learn from other cultures, enjoy what life has. Everything's a learning experience. And I think for us, you get to a certain point in your career where you've either maximized what you can achieve in that role or you're approached about another role that seems really intriguing. So, when I'm approached, I always look at it from this mindset of what am I doing? Who am I doing it for? Who am I doing it with? Corporate values, and then obviously location and pay and a lot of those things come into play. So we did a pretty big move in 2021 when I decided to leave the union and join Premier Partnerships at the time. But what was great about Premier was they let me time that move with our wedding. So again, another really busy year. Started that job remote July 2021. Got married October 21, had our honeymoon in Africa, came back, packed up, immediately moved to Chicago. And when we were looking at international opportunities and understanding Playfly's growth trajectory and working with really amazing people and seeing a lot of the same individuals I'd worked with on the Premier Partnership side move to other departments within Playfly, that always intrigued me. And so when hearing about this international growth opportunity was, okay, what does that look like? We've talked about it. My wife has a German passport where her mom is from, and how can we leverage our international roots to do that move? And in having those conversations early on with leadership, it was making it known, I'm not treating this as a vacation. I'm not looking to go over for a year or two and then come back. We see it as a potentially permanent landing. So for us, it was okay, what does that look like? And when it became to be more official, understanding the fiscal change July to June, oh, by the way, I'm running the Chicago Marathon in October. And the organization was more than gracious, again, in a very busy year for us as people, completely understanding and not giving us ultimatums saying you need to move by this date and you need to be in the office 5 days a week. There are certain things that we wanted to do first and say our goodbyes in our way. And yeah, I mean, October was pretty nuts. I ran the Chicago Marathon, and 5 days later, I was limping through customs to move to London. It was an amazing experience.
Oh, that's awesome. I absolutely love hearing those stories because it becomes real. It becomes an opportunity when you say it aloud and you hear somebody else do it and somebody enjoy it, right? And as again, our audience, college kids, young professionals looking for to grow in their career path, I think it's very important to understand the opportunities. And one of the reasons I do this podcast and I'm very passionate about it, I had no idea sports roles existed. I had no idea you could work in sports or in this industry as a career path, and it has blossomed me as an individual and a lot of the people that we talk to. However, the partnerships role that you're in, I always say like people move and they chase titles a lot.
Yeah.
You have not done that in your career. Tell me a little bit about why the title hasn't necessarily been important to you and what you chase instead.
Yeah, look, I named a lot of the values. It's what you're doing it, who you're doing it for, who you're doing it with, company culture, people values that you're working for. In an interview, when you're being interviewed, you also have to do your due diligence and interview the organization. So for me, all those steps I've gone have either been referrals on you should speak to this person. They haven't really been cold interviews. Like a lot of us, when we build our careers and our backgrounds, it's always you should meet with this person, you should talk to that person. I think they'd be a great fit. So for myself, what I've been chasing is a constant yearning to grow and learn and try and do something else. When I started at the Sixers in corporate partnerships, I was the youngest partnership salesperson at the age of 24. I had no clue what the hell I was doing. We just had people that said, okay, you've wanted to do partnerships, you've expressed it, try and get us a few meetings. And, from that, developed the Wendy's Frosty Freeze Out promotion through that partnership. Was the first ever of its kind in the NBA when I was 24, 25 years old. And
Wait, walk us through that. I'm so excited. When you said that, I was like, whoa, that was you. Walk
yeah,
us through what that was in the beginning when you started it and what it is now. Like, because I think when people hear the Wendy's Frosty Freeze Out, they might not know exactly what that is, but I know for sure everybody's at least heard of what that has turned into. So walk us through that deal. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm
yeah.
like, I love that.
No. It's become this really cult following now, and I think it's evolved to now a different partner. But yeah, I mean, look, every team has their open categories, and I think QSR was a big one for us. I mean, we're coming off a 10-win season, and meetings and partnerships are really tough to come by. I've always embraced working for challenge organizations. You never want to be an order taker, whether you're in ticket sales or partnerships. Yes, I believe that good people get lucky, and lucky people can also become good over time. But it was really hard to get people's attention, and you know, with that era and in starting to build a relationship with the franchisee group at Wendy's, okay, how do we drive traffic to their locations in and around Philly before, during, after game day? Okay, we understand that they are being challenged with growing the cart size, which is the average amount that people spend when they go to a store or QSR. Okay, their Frosties are loss leaders. They're happy to give out free product in the form of a Frosty to get people to buy other products. If I go to Wendy's, I'm not just getting a free Frosty and leaving. I'm obviously getting fries and to dip. That's, I think, the right etiquette in a Frosty. But I was their thought to get people in through the door. And I love alliteration. I love cute wordplay. We did the Steez stoppage time at the Philadelphia Union when I was there. So you're seeing a trend. You're seeing a theme with this cute alliteration wordplay. So the Wendy's Frosty Freeze Out with this evolution where how do you give free product to get people in the door? And we thought about, okay, as a team, when a visiting player misses both free throws in the second half, everybody gets a free Frosty, right? So we were thinking about it a lot in the room. Okay, how many times does that actually happen over the course of the season? Now we're going back doing historical research, myself and an intern at the time. You know what? Could happen 5 to 7 times. Might not be the most effective asset. Let's try it. Loved it. The group loved it. So year one, turns out it took on a life of its own. The visiting team for the next few years at the stadium the Sixers play at had the lowest free throw percentage in the entire NBA. And you had all these infamous moments where Isaiah Thomas, poor guy, got into it with a fan at the time who verbally assaulted him. You had Kevin Harlan mentioning it on TNT. It really saw this cult following and took off, and was emulated by a lot of other teams in the NBA. So that was a good claim to fame at the time. And I mean, with the Sixers being tenants in the Wells Fargo Center, we had to get really creative with assets. You can't just sell signage, put it up. You can't just sell naming rights to a lounge. Essentially, I had to sell air. And that was one of the ways we got creative, was with the Wendy's Frosty Freeze Out assets. So still bring that up. Good memories. I think it's with another partner now. And when I go back to home to Philly and we go to Sixers games, I'll always think of that. So that was a fun time. 2016 was a wild time at the Sixers.
You mentioned a saying that I've actually haven't thought about: the selling air, which is crazy to think.
All we're doing.
However, that is what we're doing, right? And you talk about building partnerships, and I have an opportunity to learn that side of the business and be on that side of the business a little bit right now. And you are building something that doesn't exist and selling a dream that has almost like you're selling air, but like it's proven to work. It's like, listen, I sold air to that guy and that girl, and they loved it. So you should do the same, which is so interesting in the partnerships world. The ticketing side, they're at some capacity, unless you're maybe the Lakers and Warriors, like you top out on ticket dollars, right? Like you can only price some courtside suites so high. Again, maybe the Lakers with their new roster, and maybe the Warriors can price it astronomically higher, but you top out with the price. These partnerships, I mean, the NBA currently is in a $72 billion media rights deal, which is wild, right? It's hard to fathom that size of a deal. And now partnerships is starting to become that too, of like, what assets do you need? What assets are you looking for? How can we provide value for you? And the partnership side allows you a lot more creativity as well. Besides the Wendy's one, which is awesome. Thank you for telling me that story. What other creative ideas and opportunities have you had in your career path on the partnership side? Because again, it's a very creative side of the business.
Gosh, I work with some really good partnerships teams, and I mean, it starts with a really strong activation team, really strong social and digital team. We had some really good wins, I would say, at the Philadelphia Union when I was there. Tim McDermott was still the president, JP Darden, Casey Cardillo. It's a bunch of people who aren't there anymore and are still working in the industry in some way, shape, or form. But, I mean, even that was talk about a challenger property. What MLS was at 2018 isn't even close to where it was today. And I think we were at 19, 18 teams, and we're number 5 option in all of Philadelphia, and it's hard to get people interested in soccer/football, is what I've been saying here at the time. And in Philadelphia, out of all cities, I mean, we were a very cost-conscious club on the pitch. We always punched above our weight class. We had an amazing CMO in Doug Vosick, who's gone on to be at the NFL, but we were very challenger in every way, shape, and form. So I mentioned the Steve's stoppage time. We sold our stoppage time. It was an asset we had done. We did it with a female-owned organic energy drink at the time that was based in Philadelphia. We really had to embrace partnering with local businesses that wanted to think bigger than what they were. So we did a lot of good wins. One in particular, we partnered with Osmo, which was a kids ed tech company based out of India. Had never done anything out of partnering with India's cricket team. So for us, the Philadelphia Union, understanding best academy in Major League Soccer, also a little biased there. But if you look at a lot of players that have gone on to be sold or transferred, it starts and ends in Eastern Pennsylvania. So Osmo was a kids ed tech company, understanding who are we selling that air to? It goes back to that theory. And youth soccer parents are traditionally on the more affluent side. They're traveling everywhere to take their kids to soccer practice, tournaments, games. That's a year-round thing. And what we did was we leveraged Osmo wanting to get their ed tech into a lot of stores in and around major metropolitan cities, but in particular Philadelphia, sitting between DC and New York, and using the best and biggest academy in the youth soccer programs. We got the product in the hands of the players, their kids, all these other tournaments. Now you're using it again as how do you gamify that experience? How do we incentivize and reward people for buying the product? And through the course of that partnership, they saw Philadelphia go from being a top 10 market to being a top 5 market just a few years later. So we're always looking, and me and my teams, we've always looked at how do we do partnerships that are best in class and first in class. And sometimes it's fine not to take the most dollars if you're the first one out to announce, because that's what people remember. When we were at the Sixers, we were the first team to announce our jersey patch partnership with StubHub in 2016. And so a lot of times where I've gone, we've also checked the box on doing that. We were the first team in Major League Soccer, but also all Philadelphia sports to announce a sports betting and gaming partnership in 2019, I believe. So I'm always continuing to challenge our team, and especially here in Europe now, how do we do things that are best in class and first in class? And I think you'll see more and more partnerships get announced that we've done, and hopefully in the future, continue to check those boxes for us.
I love that. Best in class, first in class. That's good. You mentioned it very briefly, but I think it's a massive portion of the business. The social media and marketing team. You have a phenomenal team behind you, you said. And again, not everybody listening here is going to be in partnerships or sales. And that's awesome. We don't want everybody in partnerships and sales, right? We need incredible teams behind us.
Not for everybody.
How closely are you working with the social media marketing team, and what other departments do you touch on a regular basis?
Yeah, it takes everybody rowing in the same direction. You never want to be the person that, the slang is sell the dream, service the nightmare. You don't want to be that person. So I think it is fully being on the same page. Okay, what assets do we have available? What categories are open? What categories are coming up for renewal? What high performing social and digital content pieces are not currently sponsored? Why is that? What underperforming pieces are partner sponsored? I think that's another thing that we look at. Activation, right? It's not sold a partnership, hand it off to the activation team, see you never, or see you when it's time to renew. A good partnerships person always has to be involved with the handoff process, but also staying in touch. If they've fostered the relationship, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that everything is running smoothly. So it's everyone from HR in doing a payroll partnership with Prime Point when I was at the Philadelphia Union. There's HR, there's finance that's involved. I mentioned our youth academy. A lot of teams have a visit, and it's a tourism board partner, and it's okay, where are you traveling to for your training camp? So ticket sales is another one. Premium is another one. So it's really everyone from broadcast to content to the executives at the end of the day. I mean, those are the people that are also helping close some of those biggest deals, whether it's a jersey patch all the way to a local craft partnership. Everybody gets involved at the end of the day to hit our goals.
The wheel of sports, like everybody has to be in congruency with it. I always say you either sell or you service, but you actually I actually said this in an episode one time, and my one of my family members came back and was like, "I thought you were nuts when you said it." And then I try to think of a job that doesn't sell or service, and I couldn't think of any.
No, it's both. I mean, I always say everybody's a salesperson, even people that are like, "Ugh, sales." Well, to interview and get a job, that's sales. If you have to sell that organization on you as a person, as an individual, being a fit and helping them get a return on their investment in you and closing big deals, hitting goals. So everything is sales. All right, I've been on activation team. They're amazing sellers. They just don't want to be called sellers 100% of the time. So it's definitely a lot of both.
I have one more question for you before we wrap it up, and then I'll obviously give you the floor. You talk about setting goals, and you have a pretty robust 1, 3, 5, 10-year plan. And I think that's more structured than most people. However, it's gotten you to where you are now. Can you tell us a little bit about the goal setting process that you have, and what are some of those big rocks, those big goals that you have coming up?
Yeah, I think it's both personally and professionally. Set crazy goals. Like your goals should scare you. Like goals have to be goals for a reason. There's goals, there's stretch goals. What can you accomplish beyond just if you're in sales, ticket sales or sponsorships? What number do I have to hit at the end of the month? What number do I have to hit at the end of the year in order to get a bonus or be promoted? But when it comes to life goals, both personally and professionally, set those goals, put them in front of you every single day, lock screen, put it above the camera to your laptop. You should be eat, sleep, breathing your goals in that mantra. And I think for me, it's understanding short term, mid-term, long-term goals. Short term, always just when I come into organization, being a good person, being a team player, how can I help the organization realize their investment in me as a human being? And I think midterm, continue to grow, learn, provide that organization with an intangible asset. And then long term, obviously, okay, how am I going to continue to grow my career? Whether it's there, whether it's elsewhere, you start to learn after a few years, what do I need to improve on? And I'm a big fan of constant feedback. Constructive feedback goes both ways, also from manager to salesperson and vice versa, in any role outside of sales. But I always say as a joke that I hate compliments. They're fine too. But continual and open feedback on how you can learn, how you can improve, how you can get better. And then look at your goal at the end of the year. If you haven't hit your goals, I think it's a why. And in trying to get better every single day, obviously personally and professionally, I think for me, my goal was, how do I be the best at what I'm doing? And I remember in ticket sales, I wasn't the first person promoted out of our inside sales team. And of course, like people have that goal, like I was crushed for a short period of time. And then it came from feedback. Okay, you actually need to do this more. You need to celebrate others' success. You need to get bigger deals, whatever it may be for each person. And let that make you really hungry. Like be comfortable with some losses and failures along the way, because I think it makes hitting those goals a bit more sweet when things are much harder than maybe the easy way out. So yeah, I think long term, we've been here now 4 months. I joke that our visa is here for 5 years, so we're here for one presidency amount of years. Is my running joke to people back home. But no, I think for us, we're not looking at this with an end goal inside that we want to come back. I've always wanted to work for a startup, and for us to be kind of this startup arm of Playfly Sports is an amazing experience. And as we're growing more clients in our portfolio, as we're selling more deals for those clients and making them happy, how do we continue to do those best in class and first in class things? And long term, continue to have this global mindset on how the business is evolving, whether it's Formula One, whether it's golf, whether it's football, whether it's Olympic sports. What am I most interested in? If we're here long term, what else can we add to our portfolio that I'm working on that makes me continually happy and really proud to be where I'm working every single day?
Yeah, I love it. Tell me something that I've missed. If you're in my shoes, talking with a guy like you, like what have I missed that you can provide some knowledge for everybody here today?
Yeah, I use this quote a lot. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. I think it's very, very important at the end of the day, and that comes with relationship building. That was something I learned from a lot of good mentors early on, whether it was Sean O'Hara, Pritam Sen, a lot of really good people in the industry that I latched onto when I was trying to get into partnerships. But I think goes back to sales. If someone's giving you a no, it might not be a no forever. It's just a no right now. You don't want to kill all the touch points. You don't want to end conversation. So a year later, you're saying, hey, do you want to buy this? Or is now a partnership fit for you? What have you done between that first no and all that time to maybe get it to be a yes? So the same thing goes with networking and relationship building with people inside and outside of the industry. I think you can know a lot of people, but in terms of who knows you, have you cultivated relationships with the right individuals above you, lateral, below you, that will help you at the end of the day? I mean, you have to give back. I'm a big believer in sales karma. I try to answer most, if not all, LinkedIn messages, people asking me for my time, email. Over time, it gets harder and harder, but I promise if you're listening, I'm trying. But I think, it's knowing the right people, is building relationships with them. It is, I mentioned being intellectually curious. It is getting outside of your comfort zone. Just networking is huge in our industry, as I'm sure you know.
Okay, I lied. I have one more question.
Yeah, go for it.
This comes directly from our social team as they were like, "Hey, you should be doing this more often." So I'm going to ask it. What does attitude, effort, results mean to you?
That's a good one. Great name, by the way. Look, I think attitude is when you're starting your day, it's leaving everything, check yourself at the door. I think it's having the right mindset because people pick up on that stuff. If you're the one complaining about something going on, it's the team performance, it is this person that didn't buy in ticket sales or this person that said no in partnerships, flush it. I think it's having this kind of 24-hour grieving period and then just move on. I mean, we get millions of no's for a living. We are pros at getting no's, but it's how can you continue to put in that effort to get the results? I'll continue to use the play on words and run through all three, but mention attitude, effort. It's giving 150% every single day. Another Kobeism. I don't relate to lazy people. I think laziness and complacency is a disease that I've never personally been too fond of, and that stuff can seep into people and organizations. So if you are putting in that extra hours, you are setting extra meetings, making those extra calls, sending those extra emails, you always want to go one more rep. I think that leads to better results. And everybody wants to be the best. Everyone wants to sell the most, or if you want to be promoted, or if you want a certain role, you got to work backwards. So to get this end result, what do I need to achieve in what time period? And then when you start to work backwards and build that plan, whether it's 10, 5, 3, 1 year, if you're starting in the organization or if you've been in sports for a really long time, what do I need to accomplish between now and then, whatever that time period is, to achieve those results? So yeah, I think it's consistently getting better, outworking everybody. Always goes back to mama mentality for me, and just having a positive outlook. I think it's going into every situation palms up and trying to embrace everything that gets thrown at you.
I love that. I knew today was going to be good. We have a lot of synergies, and I'm excited that we had this conversation today. I'm blessed to have somebody like yourself in my circle, and now giving that information and blessing others as well. So I appreciate you being here. Thank you for your time in the afternoon over by you. I think we got some extremely valuable nuggets out of today, and I love that, like the nuggets, right? The little things. We don't need every word that is said on here to be absorbed, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, every word that was said today was the greatest thing of all time. No, take one or two of these things and apply them to your life. One thing I love that you said, the laziness quote, like I love lazy people because it allows us to get where we want to go faster, right? I don't work around lazy people. I won't work with lazy people, but I do love them because they make our lives a little easier to get where we want to go. And in this world, we have an opportunity to go and take one of those two nuggets and now be actionable with that, right? Saying these things is one thing, but putting them into action is another. And so for everybody out there today, I challenge you to take one or two things that Adam said today and go apply it to your life. This is a real life example of setting goals and achieving them, but also going and looking a little bit further, right? How can we grow personally and professionally? So thank you, Adam, for being on our show today.
No, thanks, Tanner. Appreciate it. It's a great podcast you guys have. And if anyone wants to chat more, promise you I'll get to most, if not all, the messages. I am going on holiday, as I said, we say here. But yeah, no, thanks for having me. Really good conversation, and look forward to hearing the next ones.
I love it. Well, attitude, effort, results. Let's continue to inspire others and grow together.